Corporate earnings season can be very volatile for certain stocks, for certain parts of the market. We can see sharp squeezes, we can see sharp sell-offs, we get a lot of choppiness. And what we've seen this week so far is some very sharp squeezes higher on the part of banking stocks, stocks like Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, and others. And so the number one question I've received over the past few days is, Serge, are banking stocks in a new bull market? I don't think so. Let me show you why. I'm going to go over to our chart here. And this is actually a chart that I have been showing members for the past couple of days, our direct paying clients, and I wanted to just point it out to everyone because I think it's really important that people are aware of this stuff. So what we have here is two things. First of all, on top we have the what's called the BKX, or the banking, basically banking index. BKX is the ETF. Now we're getting into this zone of resistance, which is very, very wide, but from a purely technical perspective, you can see that all these moving averages, this is a daily chart, okay, these are each one of these one day. You can see from a technical perspective, all these moving averages are started to roll over basically last October. That hasn't happened in a long time. The last time, for example, that red line, that's your 200-day moving average, rolled over was a long time ago. Okay, so this is a very different leg lower than what we've seen here previously, on previous dips here in the past few years. More importantly though, is the ratio chart, which is down here. So let me quickly give you a word on ratio charts. So I'm a very big fan of pegging one stock versus its sector, or a sector versus the broader market, or one asset like stocks versus bonds or things like that. It's what I do most of the day. I research and do those kind of things to make sure I get the best possible picture on the market to see what's going on both in absolute as well as in relative terms. So the chart here, what we did at the bottom of it is we took the banking stocks and I divided it by the S&P 500. And you get this relative chart, this blue line here. And you can see that basically because of this, the banking stocks have essentially been in a bear market versus the S&P 500 since early 2018. So for the past 12 months, there's been a very defined resistance line, right? Each time we got to the top end of this, we found resistance. We've most recently found resistance here, which was late last year. Now, we actually technically overshot on the downside here. If I were to make a parallel line here, in fact, let me zoom in a little bit closer on this so you can see this. If I were to make a parallel line here and were to put it down here, you would have seen that this was a bit of an undershooting move here in late December. So we kind of undershot on the low side, just like it overshot a little bit on the upside here. But now we're moving back to this trend. And I actually think that here we're going to start failing, certainly or almost very, very likely in relative terms, but also in absolute terms as these banking stocks are getting very overbought. To give you one idea of this, I have the chart of Bank of America here, which from a momentum perspective is very overbought. But more importantly, if you look at the price itself, you can see it's had has had a vertical rally over the past few days into this very defined layer of technical resistance. A lot of it comes into conjunction with that 200-day moving average. Now, again, for those of you guys that have been following me for longer than a cup of coffee, you know that I'm not a big fan of just looking at a moving average and declaring a trade. I think that's silly. But if you kind of take your time, you do a bit of a top-down research, you look at the earnings, you draw some charts, which is what I do all day long, drawing charts, reading research reports, talking to hedge funds, talking to my clients, you start to get a sense of it. So I hope this is helpful. Again, the number one point here is to start learning how to draw these ratio relative charts. That's what I do for clients all day long. If you guys have any questions or comments, leave them down below. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up, and I'll talk to you soon.